Yes. Okay, there we go. We are live, people. Okay, take it away.
Okay, Michelle, thank you so much for the invitation. Gosh, we talked about this in November, I think, scheduling this. So here's the day. So I'm glad to be here with everybody. I'm Roxanne Coey. I am in the Office of Reentry. I'm the Assistant Deputy Director. Ronnie Burks is our Deputy Director. Ronnie is, unfortunately, she's at a conference, and I think this was overlapping with something else. She said she was going to try to, so if she pops in, I'm going to turn it over to Ronnie. But in her stead, I will share everything that I can with you all tonight. So again, Office of Reentry within Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. Just an overview of our office. Our mission, the department's mission, is to reduce recidivism among those we touch. But the Office of Reentry, we kind of created our own mission within that, well, under the umbrella, really, I should say, of DRC. And our mission in the Office of Reentry is to connect individuals with communities, programs, and services. So any individual that's being released from DRC can have access to the reentry services. So I kind of want to tell you a little bit about our office. I told you Ronnie is our Deputy Director. We have 2 reentry administrators. North is Brian Byorth. South reentry administrator is Daryl Graves. Brian and Daryl both work with 4 reentry coordinators. So we have 8 reentry coordinators across the state. And those coordinators are located in different regions throughout the state. So we have someone in Northwest Ohio that covers like Lucas County down to Allen County, I think over to Seneca. We have another person in the Mansfield area, Cleveland, Hamilton, just throughout the state. So those folks are really boots on the ground, local. They know of all the local resources, because we know every region, every part of the state doesn't have the same resources. So those reentry coordinators, they build relationships with coalitions, with agencies, with partners. And so when an individual comes out and has a specific need, the reentry coordinators are typically able to connect them with an agency that is able to meet their needs. So that's kind of a overview of what we do in the Office of Reentry. It's hard to like pare everything down, because when people come out of the institution, they're individual people. Everybody has different needs. So one person may just need, hey, I need employment, I need help with a resume. Well, other people may need mental health assistance, housing. Many of you may know it's our biggest issue, and one that we're very focused on and hoping we can make some inroads with. But that's kind of like the structure. And Michelle, if you'd like, if you don't have it already, I can send you our contact information, so your participants will know everybody across the state, because I don't know if you have people zooming in from different areas or not. And so I said we have 8 reentry coordinators. Today we have 7, but I invited Ernest to be a part of this tonight, because beginning May 23rd, Ernest will be the reentry coordinator for the Dayton region. So I'm happy to introduce Ernest. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but Ernest, do you want to say anything to anybody? You are muted still.
Yes, I did. I kind of introduced myself earlier, but as far as being a part of the reentry coordinating team of Dayton, I've actually been active in reentry for over a decade. So I've been working with the reentry population for over a decade. I'm excited. I've been trying to get a hold of this team. I had to kick the doors in for them to let me in and keep me back, but I'm in now. They're not going to be able to get rid of me. And I'm just really excited. I'm excited about serving this population that we serve, the reentering citizens, and just really glad to be here so I can learn, gain multiple resources and partners, and continue on this service work. So thank you.
Thanks, Ernest. He didn't have to kick the door too hard, because we we liked Ernest when we met him. So, but no, I really, Ernest was gracious enough. He hasn't started with us yet, but he agreed to come on. And, you know, Michelle, I wanted you to know him and let the folks at part of Faith Freedom Life to know who Ernest is. So Ernest, thank you for coming tonight, and feel free to jump in.
That's awesome.
So one of the things that we do in conjunction with our institutions is we try to help people prepare for release. And we do, and that has a lot of different areas to it. So documentation is a big thing. Do people have their birth certificates? Do they have social security cards? Do the veterans have their, am I saying this, ID? I forget what their paperwork is. ID too. I don't know. I don't remember now.
We have somebody on here who might actually know.
Okay.
214.
214. That's it. I couldn't think of it. Thank you, Kathy. It just totally escaped me. So we try to assist them with documentation. 60 days prior to the release, the case managers will work with them. If they're on supervision, they get a form to fill out, like, where are you wanting to go? And if they don't have anywhere to go, the case managers are, the intention is to help them figure out what would be the best place for them to go. For those that are having parole board hearings, we work with those folks also. What's neat and what may be new to some of the folks in the audience is that those men and women coming up for parole, I think in the past it was yes or no, or a full board hearing, but we've really created a great partnership with the parole board. And lately, for the past year and a half, maybe, when someone is coming up for parole, if the parole board is finding them suitable for release, but they don't have a really good reentry plan, they're asking reentry to step in and assist. And so we've been able to meet virtually with a lot of the men and women who are being released, who maybe have some holes or they've had no way to make connections with folks in the community. So we've been working with those individuals to make sure they have contacts, that they have options, they can choose where the best place for them to leave would be. We had a gentleman who had lost his sight during incarceration, and he didn't have any family left. He had served a pretty long sentence. So we were able to meet with him. And when I asked him, I'll say his first name was John. I'm like, John, where do you want to go? He said, anywhere. I just need some help. You know, he was never, when he was free, he had sight, but now he didn't. So we were able to, we worked with a bunch of agencies to get him placement, to get him his mobility and orientation, to get ongoing services, because he wants to live independently. And so that was really neat. We even, we didn't want to put him on a bus, because why would we? That's cruel. We even worked with a parole officer. The parole officer said, I'll go get him. So the parole officer went and picked him up and took him back to Cleveland. He said, it gives me and him time to talk about things and me get to know him. So, you know, we're able to do things like that. And it's super exciting for us. The people who leave without supervision are sometimes more difficult because oftentimes we're finding that they're not reaching out to DRC, but they still have needs. So one of the things we're trying to do with the men and women who are leaving without supervision, we're reaching out to them through JPay. Does everyone know what JPay is on the call? Yep, okay. So our reentry coordinators are reaching out to them and introducing themselves. Hey, my name is Jen Nail, Lisa Fernandez, Drew Case, whoever. I'm the reentry coordinator for such and such region. Just reaching out to see if you need assistance with anything. And, we're kind of formalizing that process. But since the beginning of COVID, we started doing that. Some people respond, many don't. But the ones who do respond, they really need help. And we had one person, he didn't respond, but he was released on a Saturday, and he must have written down the information, the contact information, because on a Saturday afternoon, one of our reentry coordinators received a call. He was in Pittsburgh because there was a warrant, I guess. Well, they didn't, they dissolved the warrant. And he said, I'm stuck in Pittsburgh and I need to come back to Ohio and I need a place to stay. So John was able to help him get back to Ohio and get emergency housing until we could work on something permanent for him. So those are some of the things that we do when people maybe don't always think that they need reentry until they get released. And so that leads me to the people who have been released. Some they have a plan, they have a place to stay, they have everything they need, and it's fine. But others, as time goes on, realize, oh, I need some help. And so just because somebody's been released doesn't mean we're not offering them services. Reentry isn't an event, it's a process. And so we want to make sure that the men and women who have been released, 30 days, a year, 2 years, people they need things and they need help at times. And so we help them also. So it's not limited to any specific time frame that will help people after release. And then I think the other thing I really wanted to talk about is our Family Advisory Council. We have our director, Annette Chambers-Smith, who is very focused on the families and loved ones of incarcerated men and women. And when she came back to DRC as the director, she started the Family Advisory Council. And so that council consists of family members who have loved ones who are incarcerated. And we meet with them quarterly. And one of the great things about the family members is that we all know that everybody's not always been happy with the Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. And what's great about that group of folks is that they let us know. They let us know what we can improve upon, what we could do better. And it's been really great. One of the big things that we were able to learn from family members when we were negotiating a contract with a new, I don't know what it's called. I don't want to say internet provider, but JPay was up for renewal. So we renew with JPay. Is there anything else that we should be doing? We were able to hold a focus group with lots of family members throughout the state and, asking them, what would you like to see? What do you want? What's working? What isn't working? Those family members told me everything that was working and everything that was not. And so I was able to collect all that information, send it to our leadership, and those things that were not working, the cost of phone calls, the video visits that were costing a lot of money, but weren't happening because the broadband was so terrible, right? There was a lady that shared that if she wanted to put $20 on her, I think it was her brother's account, there was a fee to do that. There was a fee from her credit card company to do that. Like a $20 deposit in somebody's account cost her almost $40. Ridiculous. I never knew. But folks were able to share that with us. So we were able to negotiate a lot of things in the new contract with GTL. And so that was really, it was priceless to learn what family members are going through, because a lot of things I wasn't aware of. So I kind of wrote down, what we do, talk about releases, people after release. And Ernest, do you want to add anything to that?
No, but just I would like to piggyback off of a couple things in terms of some of the things that get overlooked in terms of reentering citizens on both sides. I feel is a lot, not just the housing piece, but what gets left out is, okay, now that they're housed, maybe they have a place, but what about the mental health? Mm-hmm. And, holistically, I feel, just as it takes a tribe to raise strong children, I feel like it also takes, it's kind of trivial as well, if you will, that those that are getting released understand that it's not just a one-stop shop. Sometimes you may have to report to a certain agency that specializes in mental health. Sometimes they may have to get, reference to somewhere where they can, feed their spirituality, because truth be told, a lot of people find, from reading the Torah and the Quran and the Book of Mormon and the Catechism, a lot of people find really where they're at spiritually. They find their faith. I don't want to lighten it and call it just a religion, but they find themselves in their spirituality. And really to keep them connected to that is almost just as important as the other stuff as well. I feel it all it goes together holistically. I like that word choice. So I feel like, for me, missing one key element in that can be detrimental to a returning citizen. Housing, of course, being up here, support, community support, spiritual support as it may be given to something as simple as, okay, we're going to link you in with a faith-based organization. It may not be, they may be non-denominational, but this is a place, people that understand your back, they're not going to judge you. They're going to help you, love you until you love yourself type of thing, right? That's important. I mean, I can't stress, Roxanne did a wonderful job of it. I can't express enough the importance of embellishing the fact that, holistic support it's necessary. It's not just needed, but it's necessary. Once someone has been confined in such a small space, but not only that, but have their last name snatched and then attached a number. Now you're a number, a file. That does a lot to the self-esteem. That does a lot to the to someone's character, and it kind of removes that sense of being. So, of course, we want the overall goals to be a productive citizen in society and not to damage and hurt what we're building and trying to structure. But the challenge is that it's simply that it's getting a lot of all hands on deck and saying, okay, let's touch and let's get educational resources. Let's get spiritual resources, faith-based resources, food resources. Some of them may need government assistance. Some of them cannot work. Can we log them in and get their CQE going? Or those that are strong and they've worked in the system, in the penal system, let's get them out here and mirror that same skill that they've learned in carpentry and metal fabrication. Even some of them speak very well. Let's get them involved in customer service. So I think bridging that gap of employability is a huge factor too, because often a lot of gentlemen get out. They say prison preserves. They get out in pretty decent shape physically, some of them. So linking them to something where they can feel like I'm contributing, I'm earning, and I'm benefiting from this, and I have purpose. I think that's as important as well. So I know I added a lot on top of what you said, Roxanne, but I think it's all important. Just other pieces to look at, to what can really help someone grow and be successful in society upon reentry. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Ernest. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you made me think of when you mentioned holistic, and there's more than, one thing. One of the things that we have done better at, we're not great at it yet, I think we can continue to grow, is then whenever possible, especially with the virtual meetings with men and women preparing to release, we try to bring that family member in, mom, dad, sister. I've talked to a lot of family members about what this can look like. And one of the things that we're stressing to family members and to the person that's preparing to be released is, what are your expectations? And have you communicated those expectations? Because what we see is that men and women at times get out with a plan, but that plan is in their head and they haven't shared it with anybody. So they go home, but the family or the loved one has expectations too. And if they're not talking about them, conflict can arise really fast. Within 30 days, someone's kicked out. Now they're in trouble with the parole officer. So I really urge people, hey, talk to your wife, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your husband, have these really tough conversations. And they need to be had prior to release, prior to the parole officer saying, this is where you can, and now you can't, kind of thing. So, what's great is that we talk to a lot of restored men and women. They're part of our committees. They're part of our family advisory council. we try to include the voices of people who have the lived experience in every step of what we do. And there's some great folks that are really just transparent about what they've experienced, what they've shared, and the obstacles that they've had to overcome. So I consider this position, and I think we all do in the Office of Reentry. I'm not the know-it-all. I'm learning every day. I'm learning every day from folks. So it's really, it's a great place to be with DRC. So I'm excited about it. And I think I'll stop because I don't want to ramble. And I think Ernest and I will be willing to answer any questions that anybody may have.
I have some questions. I wrote some down.
Okay.
So I'll start with, I think that was I'll piggyback off of what you guys just said in terms of hearing the voices of restored citizens. So I was wondering, even, I don't know how much of a stretch this is, but how often does your office follow restored citizens and the ones that have made significant progress and making good inroads, and bring them in to, I don't know, facilitate meetings or sit on your family advisory council, or have a position, even possible employment? I don't know what that looks like in terms of utilizing restored citizens services in terms of employment opportunities in ODRC. I don't know how tricky that is.
So I will say there was a lot of questions in there.
Yeah.
So following, we don't follow people because a lot of people don't like us because we're DRC. And that's okay. That's okay. But there are men and women who reach back. They'll contact us. And of course, we're like, how are you doing? And I know Ronnie, I think her phone is just constantly going off because a lot of men and women reach out to Ronnie. And those of you familiar with Ronnie Burke, she was the warden at the Ohio Reformatory for Women and a deputy warden for many years. And so there's a lot of particularly women that reach out to her. Hey, and one of them still called, hey, warden, I'm doing good. I got a job. Hey, can you help me with this? And there's a lady that we helped her get to her daughter's house in Georgia. And she sends pictures and texts and all that. So people keep in touch with us when they want to. Okay. Excuse me. We don't force them, Michelle, because,
Yeah. So so I have a few questions. I wrote them down.
Okay.
Okay. I heard Ernest say CQE. What does that mean?
Okay. CQE is Certificate of Qualification for Employment. And that's a whole big presentation. And I'll give you like all the short version, and I'll come back, Michelle, if you want like a full presentation on it. But that certificate is intended to reduce barriers for employment. And so if you've been incarcerated and you've been accepted to nursing school, or you want to be a real estate agent or a chemical dependency specialist, you are required, any license in Ohio, if you've been incarcerated or justice involved, requires that we call it CQE, Certificate of Qualification for Employment. So what that is an online application. It comes to DRC. We review it, not to screen in or out, but just to make sure it's complete. Then we forward it to the courts. The courts now, with some changes in the law, are presumptively supposed to grant the CQE unless the person's still on supervision, the person owes any outstanding fines or court costs or anything like that. So there's a lot of people that I talk to. They're like, I'm almost done with nursing school, and now they're telling me I need a CQE. Okay, here you go. Here it is. But it's not just for state licensing. A lot of men and women get it just to show employers, hey, I made a mistake, but that CQE is supposed to say, remove the collateral sanctions for my incarceration and consider me on an individual basis. I've done this. Yes, I've made a mistake, but I've done this, this, and this now. And really one of the people that presents on the CQE, she says it's, for employers, they've done the background check for you. Yes, I have been in trouble, but the court has granted me the certificate that says I've been doing well. I've been doing well. And so what's neat about that CQE is that we're trying to educate employers so more employers know about the CQE. And the only way it can be revoked is if somebody commits another felony. And then, because we do background checks for the CQEs every year. And so, people have had the CQE since they came out in 2013. So that's a big topic.
Okay, so let me try to understand what I heard and play it back. So the CQE, Certificate of Qualification for Employment, is something that a person can apply for before they get out? Or
No.
Okay.
So if they have been justice involved with a misdemeanor, they have to be off supervision for at least 6 months.
Okay.
If they were justice involved with a felony, they have to be off supervision for 1 year.
Okay. And am I understanding it correctly that applying for this, ODRC approves it, and a person having this CQE is something really helpful for them to take to potential employers, not just for state licensing? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, for employers. We don't approve it, we review it.
Oh, you
And we
don't
forward it
approve
to
you
the
review.
courts, and the courts grant it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is this something that's widely known about? I didn't know about that. It sounds like it can be maybe a little time consuming and obviously going through the red tape, but something that could be really helpful for a person.
Absolutely.
How long does the process generally take?
Well, Ronnie wants us to get them completed within 5 days, 1 week, 5 working days of them being submitted. However, the courts are granted 60 days to review the CQE. So some of them do it quicker and some of them take a little longer. I think the longer ones are folks that may have multiple charges in different counties.
Oh, okay. So I guess what I'm sorry, my mind is just spinning. So for a person who has the CQE, so you go on a job interview, right? And you have to fill out that dreaded box. And maybe if a person gets their foot in the door to have an interview, I'm imagining that this CQE helps with that one particular question.
Absolutely.
Did anybody else know about that, or am I the only one? I did not know about that.
I see Barb shaking her head no. I'm like, oh man. We've got work to do, Ernest.
We know about it inside. We hear about it inside the prison. Don't hear of a lot of people using it out here though. Benjamin, you, Carolyn, I haven't, anybody out here that uses it. It's just, when, and this is the thing, when we get out of prison, the first thing we just go get a job. And once we get the job, and it's really hard to go from one job to another job. So this is a person who specifically wants to be a nurse, wants to be a barber, wants to be in that field to where it's a career. So like I said, a lot of people run to the first job they get and they try to stay as long as they can because difficulty of switching jobs and having to go through that process all over again. Most people don't want to do that. So that's why you don't hear a lot about it, Michelle. Most people just run to the first job. This is really about people who are serious about a profession that they really want to get into, and they're going to need that to be able to get back in that field or to start in that field after being in trouble with the law.
Okay.
Just to touch on that also, when it's not a secret, I was incarcerated for 15 years. But while I was in there, and I was in there the entire time, warden book Warden Burks were in there. So I got very close with her also with a lot of programs. But we heard about it. I know, hello. We was familiar with it. I actually received the form, but it was so hard for us to complete every single requirement on that form for us to even be able to send it in. You know, they want this process, they want this process, they want this process. And it was extremely hard for the ladies to get each and every single one that they required.
Carolyn, are you talking about the CAE that you can do in the Certificate of Achievement and Employability?
Maybe it is. They did tell us.
And
Yeah,
that's also time consuming too.
Very.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a waiting list for programs. You're required to have program. You're required to
Yes.
do community service.
Yes.
I mean, you're required to complete a vocational program. It's hard. It's hard. For
It is
people
very
to-
hard. And I
Yeah.
taught 28 different programs up there.
Oh, geez. Wow.
So it was extremely hard. I had waiting lists a year long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, with everything I was involved in, it was insane.
Yeah.
You know, the Horizon program, the military prep program that I ran, mental health programs that I designed and I ran. Just every single thing. I would go to different
Mhm.
units and run my programs in them units just for the girls that couldn't get into anything.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
short-term offenders couldn't get to this either.
1-7.
So, but I just want to touch super quick on mental health. So I am huge on mental health. It's not a secret. I've had my issues also. It just came out recently. I was diagnosed with bipolar, which explains a lot of me. That's been handled, doing a lot better. But being incarcerated for 15 years, and I had my same psychologist the entire time. I was blessed to work in mental health my like 12 to 13 years out of my 15-year sentence there.
Wow.
So when a person is released, whether it's a female or a male, and you've been talking with a therapist, we're thrown straight out here. We have no contact with them once again. So for me personally, it was like I had to grieve for that therapist. I had to grieve for that interaction relationship that I had with them, that I was able to walk in at any point in time. And I trusted her. I solely trusted her. Now I have to come out here and rebuild this trust. I don't trust very easily.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a huge, and I didn't go to anyone. So when it came to the point about 3 or 4 months ago, when I was looking people up, now that we're coming out as felons, you know, like I have a certain insurance, and that's the first thing they say. Okay, well, what's your insurance? Oh, sorry, we don't take that insurance. Well, I know you do because you're on my plan. But they don't want to take it because, you know, I have, what is it, Medicaid?
Mm-hmm.
You know, through the state, which I'm still blessed to have it. I don't have to pay for insurance at the moment, but I will.
Good deal.
So, but that's a hindering for me. I cannot get anyone to see me if I need to see them. And I had to go a little unorthodox, but I've been out for over 2 years. I'm completely off of paper. I'm free. So at this point, I am allowed to contact my therapist that I had up there. And we have been in touch, and she's my therapist again. Day or night, we're calling each other. But
Nice.
that mental state for the past little over 2 years that a person goes through, or I did, it was horrible. It was horrible. And that's just a huge thing for me, is mental health, helping returning citizens coming out. What else can we do for them? What else can we do?
Just to piggyback off her, Roxanne and Ernest, again, thank you guys for being here. I'm a restored citizen, did 9 years, and I help a lot of people.
Yes.
We're talking about the mental health part of it.
Yep.
We had a young man, he attempted 5 times in 10 days.
Yes.
There's no place to take him. He's back in prison now. There's no place to take him. We called places. Well, you got to call at 8:30 in the morning and see if we have a I know it's not that place's fault, but so there again, that's why we're doing mental health first aid training in June, and we got our wellness checks where we try to be for each week and trying to look out for each other. But at the same time, we're still don't diagnose. We still don't have the professionalism for mental health and housing and mental health. That is the top dogs right there. I can get a job, but can I keep the job? That young man,
James,
that young man that attempted 5 times in 10 days, he got 2 jobs, but he couldn't keep them.
okay. James, that hurts my heart, really. I'll reach out to the Montgomery Reentry Coalition and see if they know of any therapists or counselors that will, I guess post incarceration.
He went to Five Rivers? He went to 5 Rivers.
Yeah.
Medication, send him out the door. What can they do?
Another issue also is that when you go into some place, you're going to see a therapist here, but the next time you go back, you may have to see a different
A
therapist.
different one.
So
That doesn't
my
work.
thing is, this
That's
is
not
also 15 years ago, I dealt with a lot of things. Coming out of prison, I had to deal with a few more things. I dealt with that. You don't want to start with someone new and have to start all completely over again with your whole history.
Right.
Well,
Right.
you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, it's like going in circles, though, if you keep.
That's all you're doing.
Yeah,
You don't
we
heal.
we call it the toilet bowl flush. Benjamin, I see.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
That's just huge for me is mental health. And I guess because I've been through it, I've dealt with the mental health women up there. And I built my reputation up in that prison that if a girl was in trouble, they would call me, say, hey, of course, white, like you said, we are a name and a number, white 89, hey, they need you in this unit, someone's having an issue. I would go and talk to them, just listen. And a lot of times people just need to vent and they should be able to say what they want to say. But in prison, you cannot do that because you're going to get put on suicide watch. You know what? I feel this way, I feel that way, whatever it may be. And they're going to take you straight to suicide watch. And in all reality, you just need to get it out
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and just vent.
Mhm.
But you can't do that up there. And coming out, of prison, sometimes we just need to do that also. And who do we trust to be able to do that with?
Yeah,
We don't. So we hold it all in. And then where does that take us? For me, it took me right back down the rabbit hole almost. I was extremely close. And I have 3 people in my life that one, I truly trust with every single thing in my life. And thank goodness for that, because I was able to, reach out a little bit to them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just my huge thing with returning citizens. That and a place to live and feel secure with.
Yeah. James and Carolyn, I really appreciate you sharing. I really do.
Yeah.
And it's good for me because there's more work that needs done.
mhm.
So I really appreciate you sharing. Thank you so much.
And we would appreciate.
Anything you want to know.
You want to put your information, can we have your permission to put your information on our website as a resource? Can we
Yes,
do
you
that?
can.
Okay, thank you.
I will send that. You know what, Michelle? I'll send
Yeah.
you our contact list. Can you put the whole list on there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so then people can know we're all available. And
Yeah,
then when we get Ernest on board, we'll send you an updated one so
And
that
Roxanne,
everyone has.
Yeah, the reason that helps is they know the battle tested is returning citizens, helping returning citizens. And so when they see us working together, like the reentry, Montgomery County reentry, like, okay, they're cool. It's like a stamp of approval,
yeah,
Right.
If
Yes.
okay, then it must be okay. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And I just want to make
So
clear,
Michelle,
I'm sorry.
Go
So
ahead.
you guys are aware, and especially because Ernest is going to be in the Dayton area, that Battle Tested is based out. So are you all aware of Battle Tested? No? Okay, James, you need to go on ahead and come on now. Come on now. So we're here, Faith Freedom Life is here in Cincinnati, and Battle Tested and Faith Freedom Life are in partnership, but they are based out of Dayton. So I think it would be amazing for James and Ernest to be tightly connected as well.
Well, Ms. Birch knows us.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mike Davis knows us. You guys knew who Mike Davis is, right?
Yep.
Mike Davis is my mentor.
Mike Davis, ask him about James Clay and Hope Letters and Battle Tested. He'll give you the rundown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ernest, we need to connect, sir. We need to connect.
Sure. Absolutely.
So yes, Roxanne, you'll send me, James, can you put your contact information in
Yep,
the chat?
Sure
Okay.
can.
So I'll get a contact list of everybody in terms of the coordinators, the different
Yes, ma'am.
regions. And
Mhm.
so I want to ask maybe some difficult questions based on the mental health and the housing, and that's what my next
Michelle?
question. Yes.
Michelle, before you go into that, I wanted to know, hi.
Hi, Miss Kathy.
I hear you saying Ohio, Ohio. Is there anything for your incarcerated loved one coming from Kentucky? How does that work for someone who's incarcerated in another state, but they will be coming to Ohio?
Oh, Kathy, you threw a curveball at me. We do pretty well with people who are incarcerated in Ohio that are going to another state. We reach out to reentry services there. But as far as coming home to Ohio from Kentucky, that's a little bit tricky. Can they J-pay? Can they J-pay? Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
I'm wondering if we could J-pay that person or even write to them about reentry needs and services. I will tell you that for family members, one of the things that we've been really fostering the last couple years is relink.org. I'll put it in the chat. And we have been encouraging, James, if Battle Tested's not on there, I would love for you to get on relink.org. And so relink.org is a nonprofit organization. When I met them at a conference and I was like, hey, can we chat? What I didn't know is that one of my coworkers met with somebody else from Relink and said, hey, can we chat? So we kind of hit them from the north and the south. And what Relink did is created a dashboard with a Relink icon on it. So if you want housing, if you want, mental health treatment, medication assisted treatment, employment, whatever your needs are, you can, push that in. Their motto is through 3 seconds, 3 clicks. So it's not some tedious website to navigate. So Relink, we would share Relink, Kathy, with the families so that when because obviously they're regularly writing or talking with the people they care about in Ohio, that information could be shared with them through the loved ones. But yeah, we can figure that out. If there's someone individually that you would like me to reach out to or, contact that institution in Kentucky, I'll be more than happy to do that.
Okay,
So I hope that's helpful.
okay.
And Michelle has my information. Michelle, do you want me to put my email address in the chat?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay.
And I'll be wanting to put the, click something on my website to link people to your the department's contact information in terms of reentry. That would be amazing.
Okay.
That would be
So,
amazing.
Michelle, can I answer 2 questions that you asked previously?
Yes.
Or just one statement and then answer a question. When we talked about CQEs, not all employers know about CQEs. One of my performance goals is to increase the employers throughout the state who are familiar with it. So we had a SCORE event the other day. SCORE is Second Chance Opportunity for Reentry Employment.
Mhm.
And so I will send you that link that talks about the CQE.
Okay,
And I think we had 51 employers, and we want to do at least 2 more events. I emailed the invitation to all 211 chambers of commerce throughout the state, hoping that we would just get bombarded, but we didn't.
mhm,
But if there's employers or a group you would like that presentation to, we'd be more than happy to do that too, spread the word. And then the other question you asked is about employment with DRC. DRC does employ restored men and women. There, I know of a handful. I don't know what the rate is. And there's some positions that we're not permitted to through administrative services. So if someone can't carry a firearm, they can't be a correction officer.
yeah,
But we have recovery services folks,
yeah.
just a lot of different folks who
That's
have been justice involved. Look, we can't be called the Department of Rehabilitation and Correction if we don't hire and give reentry opportunities to people.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's my, that's my
Yeah.
philosophy. So I just wanted to answer those 2 things real quick.
I appreciate that. So what I heard you say earlier in conversation is, well, this is one of my questions. What can we, being on the outside, being family members, do to help advocate and help prepare for our loved ones coming home? And one of the things that I heard you say mainly is communication, because when mine was inside, I don't remember anything about 60 days out, meeting with the case man. Now, that didn't mean it didn't happen. Maybe I just didn't know about it, but how efficient and effective is that 60 days out, getting a person prepared, having video conferences, asking what are your expectations? Is that like a tried and true thing in all the prison facilities across the state for everybody? Because I'm just imagining, wow, that's actually really awesome, but does that actually happen for all of the inmates?
No, we're releasing about 20,000 people a year.
Mhm.
We're an office of 12.
Yeah.
So when we get requests from family members, when we get requests from the parole board, we've gotten requests from mental health. Hey, this person really needs community support. And so, we'll have these multidisciplinary meetings with folks. So I don't want to tell you it's happening with everybody, Michelle, because it's not.
Okay.
It's the long-term people. We get notices. We got notice that somebody had served 44 years. Wait a minute, we need to help.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say that upon request,
Okay.
whether it's from a family member, the
Mhm.
incarcerated individual, or somebody, a department that's attached to him saying, hey, this person needs help.
Got you. Okay, that makes sense. That makes more sense, because I was like, wow, what you're saying, that's the bomb. And I'm like, do everybody get that? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
no, if we had 100 people, maybe we could make a dent in it, but then the case managers are, we're pulling from them.
Yeah.
So it's a work in progress, but we're a lot further now. Look, COVID was horrible, but there's some things that we discovered during COVID that absolutely make sense. And these pre-release conferences make sense.
Got you. Okay. So before I ask my next questions, is there anybody else that has a question? Benjamin?
I just wanted, I know, and I do agree, because I have mental health issues, and oddly enough, while I was talking to a mental health liaison in the prison system, I said something that I guess I shouldn't have said. I almost got new charges for it, but I thought I was, and that is an issue for me now, because I'll just be honest with you. I will never talk to another person ever again, because I can't trust that. And it's the policy. It's not any person's fault. But that is a problem. But I want to ask this because I fought so hard. I kept the same job through my entire incarceration. And I fought so hard, like, hey, can I get a letter of recommendation that I show up every day? I do a good job so I can at least show my employer. That was kind of like an establishing question. They did fill out, my sergeant filled out a form and I was
A
able
form,
to do
yeah.
that. But now, I even asked my boss directly, and I've been on LinkedIn, and I just posed a general question, like, how can we, who like guys that work OPI and the chow hall, so on and so forth, how can we translate those skills onto a resume that an employer would actually look at? Like we were taught kind of to and sort of put like we work for the state of Ohio, and but honestly, that's not something you want to walk in the door with an employer and roll the dice. You know, maybe if they see it as like, hey, I like the way you think, but that could also be lying on a resume, you know. And so how do we do, or is there a way that we can do stuff like that to where, yeah, a job is easy to get, but if I would have had just a little bit more, I would have landed a really good job instead of just a job.
Got it. Got it. So Benjamin, I'm not sure when you were released,
20.
in 20.
In
So
COVID.
yeah, yikes.
Yeah.
So you've missed some of the benefits that have transpired. And so what our education department does, the Ohio Central School System, our school administrator over the whole thing is Jen Sanders. And what Jen did was her department, they took a look at all the jobs that incarcerated men and women perform in the institution. And what they've done is looked at ONET and tried to change those job titles and job descriptions to be industry recognized job titles and job descriptions. So the people who were porters, I mean, what does that mean to anybody? It doesn't mean anything, you know.
Right.
So that job title, I'm not sure what the job title is going to be. And that job description is changed so that if you put, I don't know, London Correctional, I don't know where you were, London Correctional Institution, that's where you were, that's where you worked, and all the things that you performed in your job duties there are supposed to be industry recognized duties. So you, those of you who have been incarcerated, you know, the people that work for health and safety, man, there's a lot of stuff they do. And that's never been cleanly represented on a resume, but now they're trying to change the job descriptions. I'm not sure where they are with how many have been changed and how many are left to do. But that's what they're moving towards, because the work that's being done in the institutions by incarcerated men and women should count as job experience, especially if you go to a vocational program and you get your master gardener's license in horticulture and you're taking care of all the grounds. Or one of the women at ORW, Carolyn, I don't know if you were still there when Wheeler was built, but one of the women who went through the plumbing program did the plumbing and all the plumbing in Wheeler. Are you kidding me?
Yes, she did. She came back in.
Yeah. I mean, that's on the job experience.
Yes.
You know, so I think that I think we're getting better, Benjamin. I'm not saying that we're great or perfect, but you're right. There's things that have not been able to be represented well. And I'm not sure about the letter of recommendation. I know there's a form, and I know that with our new leadership, I don't think our director wants us to shortchange men and women who are coming home. But Michelle, can I follow up on that question and get more information to you to find out, are we allowed to write? Because I'm not in the institutions anymore. I don't know if I'm allowed to do a letter of recommendation for somebody who's showed up and done a great job every day. I'm not sure, Benjamin.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be so awesome.
Is that okay, Benjamin, that I follow up with that
Yes,
question?
please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Can I just add to that? That's a very important, and I think that's a hot topic, Benjamin, that you just said, is, what do I do when I'm trying to self-represent myself and my skills that I've learned, and I don't want to include on my resume or portfolio mental health, incarceration, penal institution, and where I got the experience from? Well,
Right.
that's a good question. So in the vocation department, here's the thing. What I've learned to facilitate, and I facilitated employment readiness and job readiness for reentering citizens, is to step away from the where you got the experience. Okay, step away from the environment and the institutional piece. Focus on what task was at hand. If it was culinary, then you just speak to the safe serve, you speak to the safety, you speak to the sanitization, you speak to the hard skills and the soft skills that you obtain. You don't necessarily have to speak to where you obtained that to until you get in the chair. See, that's
Sure.
why Ohio is a no box state. So they no longer have to put on the applications, have you been convicted of a felony? Yes or no? If so, explain the disposition. And you would have to explain if it was a F1 through F5, and then say, I'm still on paper and I've done a diversion program, blah, 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 blah. Now, since Ohio is a no box state, they just have a box on the application and online that you have to just check that says, I understand that your company undergoes a FBI or a BCI background check, right? So here's this.
Wow.
That is meant to get you to the chair. Once you get to the chair, whether it's a panel or a one-on-one interview, Benjamin, that is your time to show off and show out. You speak on, listen, you speak on the hard skills that you've learned. I've done this, I've done maintenance, I've done this and this and this. And they may, yes, they may say, well, sir, where did you obtain this from? Well, I've worked it when I was, as I've shared with you, I have been involved or touched by the criminal justice system. However, since then, I've learned this, I've done this, I got a certificate, I'm off paper now, I've successfully completed this, and that's when you sell yourself. So there's kind of a process to this, and there's a portal that we have to use. But unless you're trained on how to do that, that money-making good opportunity that you had, that lucrative opportunity, will slip through your hands just as it has mine before. We have to know how
we were
to.
taught in there to do some of that. Like I did some of the job readiness programming and stuff as well. What got me was like, I guess the legitimacy of it. And then like Miss Coey was saying, at least with adding a true sort of industry standard term, that does help. Because if you go in and you say, I worked in the chow hall or whatever,
Right.
If an employer wants to give you a chance, yes. But if they're sort of on the fence, maybe like an actual, whatever the title would be for something like that, then you can call yourself that and it actually shows, however.
Absolutely. Well, the sentencing judge has to sign off for whatever county in which you were charged, has to sign off on the CQE. So, I mean, what better backing can you get than from the sentencing judge saying this gentleman or this woman is rehabilitated, they paid their debts to society, they've abided by their time, and oh, by the way, while they were in there, they did this, 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 and this. That's a surefire backbone that you can use. But what I'm speaking from, which is helpful, I believe in the CQE, but I also believe in holistically self-representation. So it's not just what you say to me at this point, Benjamin, it's how you say it. Some men and women, they don't believe in themselves. So if you don't believe in you, it's going to be real hard for you to get the buy-in for me to believe in you. Right. So a lot of this is training, not just how do I say it, but what do I say? What do I refrain from? What if they ask me to dig deeper? And all these other questions that are profound, right? It's preparation. We have to be educated on what to say, how to say it, how to present it, and what to refrain from. It's
Mm,
about education. Each one reach one, right?
mhm. And your
What helps us
office
grow.
offers the training? The job readiness, your office has this training?
Absolutely. I facilitate that training.
Wow, I like that. I like that a lot.
We need that in Warren County, by the way.
Michelle, can I touch on something else also?
Yeah, please.
Okay, you said communication is vital between a returning citizen and their family. It's extremely vital. And we talked on expectations. So the family may have different expectations and then what the returning citizen has for themselves. And I'm gonna say this because for myself, being incarcerated for 15 years, coming out, I didn't, listen, the cell phone that I had when I was arrested was a big old bag phone, like a purse, okay? So, you know, now I'm out and I have this thing and I'm like, well, what do I do with this?
What is this? Yeah.
You know, and I had a big box computer. Now I have a laptop. I'm like, well, what do I do with this? How do I pump gas? How do I use a credit card? How do I use a debit card? How do I do things again? How do I use an ATM card? Are we still writing checks? Does that work? How do these things function in society for us now? So that is something where I think that the communication, maybe they can start that in while we're still inside.
Yep.
You know, kind of prepare a person for that has been, you know, incarcerated for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know it may not happen, but something to that nature.
Carolyn,
Yeah.
can I ask you something?
Absolutely.
Do you mind if you put your contact information in here? Can I contact you and follow up? Like, what would that look like? Because if you said do this, Roxanne, I'd miss a whole bunch of stuff.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I got my ATM card, my debit card, and the first time I ever used it, I was at Kohl's with my mom. And I was at one register, she's at the next one, and I'm like standing there with this card down by my side, like, Mom, like waving the card to her, like, what do I do? How do I use this in this machine? Without like fronting myself out in front of everyone in the store, you know, because we already feel like we have a target on us anyways coming out. So I'm like, how do I do all of this?
Yeah.
So that was, you know,
That's
if we could
real.
if we could do something like this, if they would even start anything like this inside. How about working with them on running, how do you work Microsoft? How do you do Windows? How do you work all this? Because listen, and I hope I don't hinder myself here, but you know, coming out and learning all of this, it's been a bit of a struggle for me, but once I get it, I got it.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't know what to do. So that's where a lot of us fall short at.
Mhm.
That is so real. I was with my son last week, paying for something at the store, and he used his card, and just little things, what you're saying, Carolyn, he's putting in his PIN, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. You can just press the green button and run it through as a credit. He was like, I didn't know that. But just,
Right.
yeah, just little things. And yeah, that's good.
I have a question for Ernest on what he was saying just a few minutes ago. And my son, like I said, he's in Kentucky, but how does his situation in Kentucky, how can that be transferred over to get the resources that he needs and the programs and all of that information that is available? Does that cross over the state lines, that it's available to everyone?
Okay, so it sounds like, is he transferring to Ohio? Yes, I can't hear you, Miss Kathy.
You're on mute, Miss Kathy.
I'm sorry, he'll be released in February.
But he's going to Ohio.
Yes.
Okay, there's several resources out there. I know there's Ink Tattoo. .com that helps prisoners remove, tattoos that may stall them out from getting employment. And of course, they're located now in Covington. They transferred from Newport. There's a slew of information, of course, with the Montgomery County Reentry programs, which is headed by Jamie G, which is also coordinated. One of their coordinators is Quentin Howard. But there's some resources in Montgomery County. We really got to find out. I mean, if he's coming back to Dayton, for me, I think, of course, their first steps would be the ODRC, one of the reentry coalition coordinators that would help them link them to the settle, and hopefully that'll be me, but it'll be one of the coordinators that would help link them to direct, resources that would help them with, like I said, the holistic approach. Okay, where do I go to maybe sign up to get health insurance? Where do I sign up to get food assistance? First and foremost, are there any housing that accepts, reentering citizens, those that's been affected by the prison system? So with that, I would link them directly to, and when I say a reentry coalition, ODRC has one like no other. Their team, I mean, it's a team of, we're a team of 8 right now. I think it's the most powerful team I've ever worked for, but that along with other programs that are external, we can help plug him straight in so he can get that immediate help that we were talking about earlier, Roxanne and I, the holistic help that he needs. Okay, first is always going to be, is he in a safe place where he's not going to be tempted to use, abuse, or pick up a pack or sell or anything like that? The second is going to be, what's my mental state? Because just as Brother James said, if I get a job making $20 an hour, let's say Fooyah or even AK Steel, let's say he gets a manufacturing job making $25 an hour, but my mental health ain't right. What does that mean? You're setting me up for failure. So now I got a $1,500 check, no mental health support. And guess what I'm going to do with that money, right? Mm-hmm. So my first suggestion would be to link in with a local reentry coalition that can help get him on board with all of the updated recent resources for reentry. That'd be the first thing. And they have to be strong. And I don't know much, a whole lot. I just learned about battle tested. But just from what I heard from that brother right now, that's a good link. ODRC is a good link to reach out to. And as I stated, Montgomery County Reentry, which is located on Edwin C. It's at the Job Center in Dayton, Ohio. Contact them. Okay. We hub from the same pool of resources, but if you're serious about him being alive and living and not just existing and falling back into old ways, or I should say that flush, I don't know how James said it, that toilet bowl flush, he needs that kind of help. Because they can say, okay, what do you need now? And then they can backtrack and they can help him with the full circle. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes. And he's been working with the MSD or MDS, the water sewage. He's been doing that in prison for a few years now. And he's testing so that he can go to the different levels. So he's getting real life job experience that when he gets out, he was one of the guys told him to look him up and they would get him set up with a job.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like he has something in place for him, but at the same time, could he benefit from these other programs, or is what he's learned, will that take him over that hump and put him in a different place?
Wow. That's a loaded question, Miss Kathy. I'm gonna be honest, that's loaded because that there's so many factors in there. I couldn't honestly answer that directly, but what I can say is there's programs they're out there now in Montgomery County in Dayton, Ohio, that will take a man like him and they will get him trained at the job center. They have a program now, it's called the WIOA, the Workplace Innovation Opportunity Act. And then they got the Pathways program right now, where they're paying $15,000 per person to get them trained in a high demand career job. Now that can be forklift operation, that can be carpentry, that can be metal fabrication, that can be electrical engineering, that can be roofing, that can be landscaping, and they're paying the full tab. All he has to do is show up. And fortunately, fortunately for him, that's at the same hub that I'm talking about for all these other resources. Okay.
Wow.
So the Job Center, it's located on Edwin C. Moses Boulevard in Dayton, Ohio.
I'll get him there. You get him here. I went through that.
Yeah, go through James.
I got my CDL back.
Go through, I see you bobbing your head. Go through James because he got that energy right now. But
Okay.
listen, Miss Kathy, he gonna be okay. If you sending the way of the Montgomery County Reentry, the battle tested, ODRC, it's I'm telling you, it's fail proof. He'll be okay. But he's got to put my suggestion is that he put his hand in another organization's guidance. That way, just in case what he has may not go through, he's supported.
Right.
He's
Right.
supported. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
They got him. Trust me, I woun't speak on something I didn't know. I'm telling you what I believe in and what I
You
what
got
I
Michelle's
trust.
information. You got Michelle. Michelle hook him up. Get him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Make all the connections. Yes,
Okay.
yes. So with you're in Montgomery County, so is there somebody here, being that, you know, Miss Kathy and other families are here? I mean, I want Miss Kathy and her son to connect with you guys, but what is there something, is that here in Cincinnati,
Hamilton County.
Hamilton County? Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest.
Hey,
Warren
Montgomery County is top.
is top, but Warren and Butler County are very challenging because they send young men and women alike to the joint for child support, F5s and F4. So, I mean, speaking on, I mean, I ain't trying to speak out of pocket in terms of resources, who I would guide them to. There's a SOAR program with the Urban League of Cincinnati,
Mhm.
and that's on Reading Road.
Yeah.
The Urban League of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They have a pool of resources that they can use
Mhm.
that's live and active
Mhm.
that can help you. Now, they're not affiliated with myself or my organization in which I'm going into, but it is a local organization that can help pull them into certain opportunities for the workforce. And
Mhm.
again, that's the Urban League. It's really called the Greater Urban League of the Southwest Ohio. And
Yeah,
they can
Yeah.
help you. And they're on Reading Road.
right.
They have a SOAR program, a retention program. They have on-site training. I would definitely refer you to them. And you can feel free to contact us and see what we have in place as well.
Mhm.
Sister
Mhm.
organizations and things of that nature.
This is really, really insightful. So we are narrowing down on our time, and I just want to I want to jump into this real quick. What does it look like when a returning citizen or a family member for a returning citizen reaches out to your offices and says, do you have housing? Let's just jump into it real quick. What does that look like? Do you have a actual live working document of places to refer, like apartment complexes or, you know, individual landlords who have a heart to help returning citizens? What does that actually look like in real time? Because the housing piece is just a mess. So what does that look like coming from your office?
So there's no clean, great answer to this, Michelle. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think that each coordinator throughout the state knows their region, and I don't want to say they have these secret lists, but they have these lists of landlords that they're not going to publicly put out there. But if I call or you call and say, look, we need this, blah, 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 blah. Of course, there's transition housing. We can often get people in temporary transition housing, but that's only temporary. We need
Yeah.
people to have stability.
Yeah.
And everything. So is it 100% we can get people into where they, permanent housing? No, it's not. But what we've learned from discussions with the apartment, we talked to the president of the National Apartment Association, and a lot of presidents in Ohio, president of Apartment Association of Columbus, Greater Cincinnati, different areas throughout the state. And one of the things that they told us, Michelle, is that these bigger complexes, 120 units, 50 units, are often really driven by policy, and there's no flexibility.
Yeah.
And so these smaller, I don't want to say smaller landlords, the landlords of smaller, a single dwelling, a duplex, a fourplex, those smaller what am I trying to say? Smaller operations can sometimes say, all right, I'm going to give you a shot. And I'll tell you, there's people who will, but these larger complexes, they're hesitant. Now, I'll tell you, there's already been a Montgomery County Office of Reentry plug. There's people that, they have a recommendation from the Montgomery County Office of Reentry, we'll let them in. So I think one of the things that landlords told us is that they don't want to see the old friends coming around. They want to see a support system. So in my head, I'm like, oh, can we have someone from the coalition go with them and say, hey, I've been in trouble, or my AA sponsor is here. He'll say that I've been sober this long, or this, that, and the other. So that's one thing. But then the other thing with the housing, Michelle, that landlords told us is that they're concerned. The offense wasn't the biggest thing, but they shared that, especially with people who have served a long sentence, do they know how to take care of a property? And one of the folks said to us, a leaky faucet left creates a big problem.
Mhm.
Now you've got rotting floors. Do the men and women know how to manage the property? Do they know how, when they're supposed to contact us? Because a lot of folks just want to stay under the radar. I got in, I don't want to cause any problems. I don't want to call my landlord. But when the gutters fall and there's rain going into the basement, then we got problems. But some people may not realize that so much. And so one of the things we're looking at is like a renters program to help people know, how do you understand the lease? What do you look for in a lease? How do you determine what your responsibilities are? How do you maintain the property? How do you leave?
Mhm.
How do you end the lease so you don't incur any charges? So we're looking at stuff like that to really help men and women be able to say to a landlord, I've made mistakes, but here's where I am today. I know how to be a good renter. I know how to manage my finances. I have a good job. Because people want to just kind of assembly line people to, subsidize housing. And there's people making a lot of money out here after incarceration. And they want to live where they want to live, and they should have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And so I really took your question and went real broad with it.
It's good.
But I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, it is. It's helpful to get a little bit in the mind of a landlord and to know what they're really concerned about. And that is just something that has been on my heart for years now is, wow, is so many wonderful programs out there, so many helps and services, but what about the housing? That's always,
It's
that's always
always
the thing. Yeah.
always.
Yeah, that's always the thing. Ms. Barb?
Yes, I'm going to say that the experience lately that I've had with my returning citizens is that these establishments want you to have a case manager.
Hmm.
There is the only person that has the forms that can be submitted to get you in this program or such. And I understand that because the case manager would know exactly who to contact and know how to speak with them. So I understand that, but it's just another wrinkle. If you don't have a case manager, then you're kind of SOL.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Okay. So it sounds like what I'm hearing is that they really they want to have a person or an organization or a person backing that person.
Mhm.
Yeah. A
Mhm.
stamp of an endorsement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I'll say this, a lot of those programs that I was speaking of and attesting to, they do require, like the WIOA program, as well as the Pathways program in Montgomery County, they do require that they link you up with a case manager, because what happens is a lot of people get out. Some people get out and they're not on paper any longer. They're not on parole or PRC. So they run Rashad. They don't tend to the responsibilities of the appointments. So what a
Mhm.
case manager does is act as that liaison to kind of mend you and let you know, okay, I'm serious. I'm not playing. This is what I want. This is what I need, right? So that's what happens with a lot of the programs, once, the men and women are released and they're reentering citizens. I just wanted to add it to that too. Case management can be highly effective and highly important in the referencing and the segueing into these programs.
That's really good. So we are a few minutes out from close, and before we close out, I wanted to let you guys know that, a lot of the discussion tonight from everybody here was surrounding the mental health piece. And in July, Faith, Freedom, Life, and Battle Tested, we're going to be, James is going to be speaking. It's going to be called the Mental Illness Awareness Block Party. It's something that's been on my heart for so long. I know it's something that's on James's heart, near and dear, is the whole mental health piece. And I've gone through mental health first aid training. James has. Carolyn, I think, have you or getting ready to or something?
I'm getting ready to.
Yep.
We're ready to take it.
Yep. So we're going to have speakers. We're going to have some activities. It's going to be at a local recreation center, and talking about their personal experiences as it pertains to incarceration and mental health, because it's just so intertwined and connected. You cannot have been inside and not struggle or have some mental health challenges. It's just not possible. And I specifically like to call it illness, because I think that I've spoken to James about this. Mental health, everybody says mental health. That's the I think the polite way of saying it, the socially acceptable way of saying it. But I like to call a thing, and a lot of people deal with mental illness. I mean, just it's mental illness. Mental health is prettier. But yeah, it's the Mental Illness Awareness Block Party. And it's just really important. We want to just blow the lid off of this thing and talk about it, and have a presentation there by a trainer, a mental health first aid trainer, to talk about the importance of it, the necessity of it. So just wanted to put that out there, that we're going to be doing that July 23rd. So thank you for the discussion around mental health, because it's a thing, it's a whole thing. But nobody really wants to talk about it as it pertains to incarceration, in my opinion. So we're doing that thing. And I thank you so much for your time. Time is valuable and precious. Thank you for spending it with us. I will look forward to getting that contact list from you, Roxanne. And it sounds like Montgomery County is the place to be.
Montgomery County, man. Well, look, and I don't want to sell any of the others.
Look at James and Ernest.
I don't want to sell the work of the other coalitions across the state short. There's a lot of people throughout the state that care and are passionate about this work. But
yeah,
we are very familiar with Montgomery County, and so.
Yeah, it would be awesome that one day the resources or whatever needs to be for your office to grow, to have
Yeah.
more people do what you guys do. So thank you for what you do and for being there for our people inside. They are peeps, and the peeps that we have here. Yes. Yes. So I'm going to close us. Actually, I would like Miss Kathy, can you close us out in prayer, please?
Before she prays,
Yes.
in Ernest, battle tested, its main thing is creating a community for those men and women. I know everybody does all the other stuff, but the community part is we're brothers and we're sisters and do stuff together. We do the wellness checks. We go bowling. We play games. We go on hikes. So that piece, that belonging piece, that's our strength. And the battle tested bag, of course, that 72-hour bag with those clothes and necessities in it. So
yes.
we're get ready to get some posters made. So we're going to plaster them up everywhere and let people know we're here. So, all right, Miss Kathy, thank you.
You're welcome. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we just want to thank you for this another day. We want to thank you for all of those that participated in this call, in this Zoom meeting on today. Thank you for the knowledge that has been disseminated to us from all of those which are chosen to bring forth this information. Thank you that this information will not fall on deaf ears, but it will be received wholeheartedly. Thank you for choosing these men and women to bring forth that information that will help the men and women that stand in need, those that are thirsting and hungry for what it is that you have for them, for another chance to put their life on the correct path. We just thank you for all that you've done and all you're going to do. And just ask that you continue to use these men and women in a greater way to reach our community and to bring wholeness to our young men and women. We thank you. We call it done. We decree and declare that it is well. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Miss Kathy.
Thank you,
And you guys, if you know anybody who's interested in support group every second and fourth Tuesday at 6:30 on Zoom, this is what we do. We go over our 12 steps to inner healing. We totally take the holistic approach, and it's amazing. As James was talking about community, that's really what it's all about. So thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you all.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Be
Take
blessed.
care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.